My sister sent me a $10,000 therapist bill because I got married first, then she ruined our dad's funeral. It should have been the happiest day of my life. I married the love of my life, Ethan, in a simple backyard ceremony just outside Charlotte. Nothing over the top, fairy lights, good food, people we love. No drama, no drunken chaos, no bridesmaid fistfights. Just joy. And somehow, my happiness, became the thing that broke my sister. Brooke, the golden child. The delicate one. The one we all walked on eggshells around since we were teenagers because she was sensitive and going through a lot and trying to heal. I've been trying to figure out the exact moment when my life stopped being my own and became some kind of trigger for her spiral. Maybe it was when Ethan proposed. Maybe it was when I said yes and didn't cry out of fear that Brooke might find out before I could soften the news. Or maybe it goes back way further, before the wedding, before Ethan, before adulthood. Back to the moment I became the younger sister she decided was her competition. Let me give you some context. Brooke is older than me by 4 years. Grew up being told she was special, gifted, destined for more. She was that kid who wrote poetry no one understood, dyed her hair red and black every 6 months, and cried if you used the wrong tone. Our parents? They tiptoed around her emotions like they were sacred. Any inconvenience, a breakup, a bad grade, a pimple, meant the house went into lockdown. Mom would cancel dinner plans, Dad would take the next day off work, and I'd be told to just give her some space. Me? I learned early on to shrink. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next, to stay quiet when I was upset, to apologize for things that weren't my fault, to not outshine her. But then I met Ethan, and everything changed. Ethan was the first person who really saw me. The way I carried everyone else's emotions on my back. The way I flinched whenever my phone buzzed, because it might be Brooke needing something, again. He made me feel like I could breathe, like I deserved joy that didn't come with a cost. So yeah, I married him. And that's when Brooke lost it. She didn't show up to the wedding rehearsal. Claimed she had a really intense therapy breakthrough and couldn't travel that day. When she finally arrived the morning of the ceremony, she was cold, distant. Gave Ethan a weird half-hug like she was greeting a coworker she barely knew. During the ceremony, she sat in the back row wearing sunglasses, not because it was sunny, but because, according to Mom, she was emotionally overwhelmed. Afterward, she skipped the family photos. Didn't give a toast. Didn't say congratulations. Just disappeared halfway through the reception without saying goodbye. We didn't see her again until 2 weeks later. And that's when the letter came. I remember the exact moment I opened it. Ethan was in the kitchen making coffee. The envelope was thick, the kind of paper you'd use for a wedding invite or a law firm notice. Inside was a folded letter and an invoice. Yes, an actual invoice. Brooke billing statement. Therapy reimbursement request amount. $10,287.50 services rendered. Therapeutic sessions due to emotional trauma associated with siblings' engagement, wedding, and pregnancy announcement. I thought it was a joke. Until I read the letter. It started with, "Dear Olivia, I'm writing this with a heavy heart. Not out of spite, but out of a desperate need to feel seen and validated." She went on to describe how my engagement triggered unresolved feelings of abandonment, how my decision to get married before her activated lifelong self-worth issues, and how, in her words, choosing to be visibly happy in a way I haven't been able to achieve was a form of unintentional psychological violence. She used that phrase, psychological violence. She then wrote, "As part of my therapist's treatment plan, I am being encouraged to advocate for my needs and seek reparations from the sources of my pain. This is not about money. This is about accountability." I sat there on the couch, rereading that line over and over again. This is not about money. This is about accountability. And yet there was a price tag, with a due date, and a note that said, "Please remit payment or begin a repayment plan by the 1st of next month to avoid involving a mediator." A mediator. Like I was a corporation that dumped chemicals in her backyard. Ethan looked at me when I handed him the letter. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at the total. Then he muttered, "Is this real? Like, actually real?" I nodded, numb. My sister had just billed me for being happy. We didn't respond. At first, we figured she'd let it go, realize how insane it was, come to her senses. But Brooke? Brooke doesn't back down when she's the one spiraling. She doubles down. A week later, I got a message from my mom. "Honey, maybe just hear her out. She's hurting. We all know she's sensitive." That was the moment I knew they were going to take her side. Again, just like they always had. My parents, who never once congratulated me after the wedding, who hadn't called since the honeymoon, who never sent so much as a housewarming card. They were asking me to hear her out. So I did something I'd never done before. I blocked them. Every single one. Phone, email, social media. Gone. Ethan stood beside me while I did it, his hand on my back, silent, steady. I can't do this anymore, I whispered. I can't keep apologizing for existing. He didn't say, I told you so. He didn't say, it's about time. He just kissed the top of my head and said, good. I thought maybe, finally, I was free. But Brooke wasn't done. Because what I didn't know was that our father was dying, and Brooke was about to use his death to try and ruin me. The funeral was supposed to be simple. Dad didn't want anything fancy. No religious ceremony. Just a gathering at the botanical garden in Charlotte where he and Mom used to walk on weekends. He wanted people to laugh, eat barbecue, play music. He made us promise. No sobbing over an open casket, no endless parade of pity speeches. So imagine my shock when I pulled into the garden's parking lot that morning and saw a microphone stand, a rented tent, and rows of white folding chairs set up like a scene from a TED Talk. I turned to Ethan, who was gripping my hand so tight it made my fingers ache, and muttered, you don't think. Oh, I do, he said. And I bet she brought a monologue. And of course, she had. Brooke was standing near the front in a black jumpsuit, not a dress, a jumpsuit, because, as she would later explain, skirts are too gender-conforming for grief. She had on oversized sunglasses, a silk scarf in her hair, and the same posture I'd seen her wear in every theater performance she ever did in high school. Mom was seated already, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. But not from crying, it was the performance of grief. The same kind she used to put on when Dad forgot her anniversary. That delicate sniffle-meet-sigh routine that always meant, everyone please check on me. I took my seat in the middle row, near a group of Dad's old coworkers. I didn't say anything. Just sat and tried to feel present. Tried to remember the smell of his backyard smoker. The way he used to wink at me when I beat him at Scrabble. The last thing he said to me. Brooke took the mic. Thank you all for coming, she began, with the cadence of someone who'd been practicing in the mirror. This is a hard day. Not just for me, but for all of us. I knew then we were in trouble. She went on to talk about Dad briefly. Mentioned his career. His laugh. Then, not even 5 minutes in, she pivoted. Many of you know. I've been on a journey. A long one. Of pain. Of healing. Of growth. I felt Ethan tense beside me. Brooke continued. Losing my father, a man who struggled to express love in traditional ways, has unearthed old wounds. Wounds tied to being misunderstood. Overlooked. Even resented. She looked directly at me when she said that. A few people shifted in their seats. But she wasn't done. I think it's important, vital, really, that we take today not just to mourn, but to confront the truths we bury. To name the harm that goes unseen. At this point, I wasn't breathing. And then she said it. I've carried grief for years. Not just from my father, but from my sister. Her wedding, her pregnancy, her silence. They were all daggers I had to pull from my own back. And I did. With therapy. With strength. Alone. Gasps. Real gasps. A woman 2 rows up literally said out loud, oh my God. I stood up. Ethan grabbed my wrist. You sure? I was shaking. But I nodded. If I don't say something now, I never will. I walked up the aisle, past old friends, family members, and stunned strangers, and I did the thing I had never done before in my entire life. I took the mic from Brooke. Not yanked. Not wrestled. I just looked at her and said, sit down. And she did. I turned to the crowd, cleared my throat, and said, my name's Olivia. I'm Bill's youngest daughter. A few people nodded. My dad didn't want a show. He wanted good food, good music, and good stories. So I'm going to honor him by telling the truth. I looked at Brooke, then back at everyone else. My sister and I are estranged. Not because of petty jealousy. Not because of misunderstandings. But because for years, she made my happiness about her pain. She sent me a $10,000 invoice for emotional trauma because I got married. She created fake therapy bills, tried to bill me for our father's care, and set up a literal family tax to fund her healing. And now, she's using his death to rewrite a story where she's the victim again. No one moved. I kept going. My dad loved her. We all did. But he wasn't blind. He knew the difference between struggle and manipulation. And in the last conversation I ever had with him, he told me to let go of the weight I'd been carrying. I looked directly at my mom. So I'm letting it go. Starting today. I stepped away from the mic, handed it to the stunned event staff guy, and walked out of the tent. Ethan followed. Mom didn't. Brooke didn't either. But you know who did? My dad's best friend, Cliff. My cousin Megan. 2 of his former coworkers. They came up to me in the parking lot, hugged me, and said things like, thank you. that needed to be said. She hijacked the day. You brought it back. Later that night, Brooke posted on Facebook, "Some people would rather perform strength than admit they're broken. I hope they get the help they need." I didn't respond. Because for the first time in years, I didn't have to. After the funeral, I thought maybe, Brooke would finally see the line. That there were boundaries she couldn't cross anymore. That not everything could be repackaged as part of her healing journey. That some days weren't about her. But no, Brooke wasn't done. Not even close. 3 days later, I got an alert that someone had tagged me in a post on Facebook. I clicked it instinctively, big mistake. Brooke had written a long, sweeping farewell letter to Dad. At first, it was touching. Pictures of them at the beach. A black and white photo of him holding her as a baby. Sweet captions about childhood memories. But buried halfway down the post was this: "He never got to see me truly happy. Because some people in our family made sure my joy was always seen as selfish. I forgive them. Not because they deserve it, but because my father would want me to." She tagged me. Full name. Public post. Over 300 likes. Dozens of comments. Mostly her friends. People who didn't know anything beyond the fantasy she fed them. I sat there, scrolling, heart pounding, watching my name get twisted into a symbol of cruelty. Wow, whoever did that to you doesn't deserve to be called family. You're so brave for setting boundaries. Forgiveness is for strong people. You're amazing. It was like watching her stage a play about my life and getting a standing ovation for how tragic her role was. And then, the messages started. First, a cousin I hadn't talked to in years. "Hey, what's going on between you and Brooke?" That post was intense. Then a DM from a mutual friend. "She's telling people you screamed at her during the funeral." I didn't even speak to her. And yet somehow, I was now the aggressor. The villain. The abuser. That's when I realized Brooke wasn't just spiraling. She was building a narrative. Laying bricks. Carefully crafting her redemption arc. And I was the necessary villain in every act. I had a choice. I could keep ignoring it. Pretend it didn't matter. Or I could shut it down once and for all. So I wrote a letter. Not to her. To my mom. Because she was still enabling it. Still sending Ethan little guilt-laced texts. Still talking about forgiveness, like this was some sitcom misunderstanding that could be wrapped up with a group hug. I sat down at my desk and poured out every ounce of truth I had. "Mom, you asked me to be the bigger person. I've been that person for 30 years. I stayed quiet every time Brooke hijacked the family group chat to spiral about something unrelated. I comforted her through breakups she caused and watched you cancel my birthdays because she wasn't in a good place. I paid my own way through college while you helped her with rent for 5 years. And now, after I got married, she sent me a $10,000 invoice for emotional trauma, tried to charge me for Dad's care without asking him, and used his funeral to call me out in front of our family. You still think I need to reach out? No. I'm done. If you want a relationship with me, one that's real, not just convenient when Brooke explodes, then it has to start with truth. And that means saying this clearly: Brooke is not a victim. She's a manipulator. And I won't let her rewrite my life to feed her need for attention. I love Dad. I showed up for him. I honored his wishes. I did everything he asked me to do. And I will not apologize for not collapsing the way Brooke wanted me to. Olivia, I sent it. No filter. No softened language. No attempt to make her feel comfortable. For the first time in my life, I didn't code my words in family diplomacy. 2 days later, I got a reply. "You've made your choice. I hope you don't regret it." That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, let's talk. Just a veiled threat wrapped in motherly disappointment. But the thing is, I didn't regret it. Because that night, for the first time in months, I slept. No knot in my stomach. No mental rehearsing of what I should have said. No wondering if I was overreacting. Just peace. Until the next morning, when Brooke emailed me a document. Legal notice, restorative damages, and emotional distress claim. I swear, I laughed out loud. She wasn't suing me. It wasn't real. It was a fake legal letter, probably a template she found online, with her name typed in the signature line and a list of emotional damages totaling $15,750. She included a payment portal, a literal PayPal link. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my actual lawyer because, yes, after the invoice nonsense and funeral drama, I finally got one. My lawyer responded with exactly 2 words: "She's unwell." So we drafted a formal cease and desist. Not just for harassment, but for defamation. Because if she kept talking about me online, if she kept tagging me, I would take her to court. I sent the document certified mail. She signed for it. And then, silence. For 3 whole weeks. No emails. No posts. No drama. Until one final text came through from an unknown number. You chose them. You'll regret it when your baby has no aunt. I stared at it for a long time, because that was the first time she acknowledged I was pregnant. And even in that one moment of recognition, she still managed to make it about her. I didn't expect the twist. After everything, the invoices, the funeral, the fake lawsuits, the Facebook posts, I thought the ending had already written itself. I would move on. Brooke would spiral for an audience. My mom would keep reaching out with guilt-wrapped threats. And the rest of the family would pick sides, gossip in private, and leave it at that. But then came the twist. It was early spring when I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, assuming it was another passive-aggressive message from a burner phone Brooke picked up at a strip mall. But it wasn't. It was my cousin Megan, one of the few people in the family who'd stayed quiet, neutral, Switzerland style. She hadn't reached out in months, and when she did, it was never dramatic. She was more the type to send a meme and move on. So when I listened to her voicemail and heard her crying, I knew something was wrong. I called her back right away. She didn't even say hello. She just said, "It's your mom." I went cold. "What about her?" "She's in the hospital," Megan said. "Panic attack. They thought it was a stroke at first. She collapsed at work after seeing a video Brooke posted." "What kind of video?" "She tagged you. Said you had a baby and were hiding it to hurt her. Said you were depriving a child of love out of spite." My breath left my body. I sat down on the kitchen floor, staring at the baby monitor. Miles was asleep, completely unaware that the family he'd never met was unraveling again this time, without me even being involved. "She's been watching your social media," Megan said. "Not just your stuff. Ethan's, too. Her coworkers said she was researching you for hours a day. She saw a tagged photo of you pushing a stroller and just lost it." I didn't know what to say. Megan continued. "I'm not calling to guilt you. I'm not on anyone's side. But I thought you should know. Brooke's completely unhinged. She's telling everyone you're abusing your child by withholding his family." My mouth went dry. "Olivia," she said, voice shaking, "I think she's planning something. Not just petty. Like, legal. She's talking about visitation rights. Grandparents' rights. She doesn't even know the baby and she's acting like she has a claim." I didn't answer, because I had already taken steps. Quiet ones. The day Miles was born, I updated my legal records. A formal no-contact order filed. Parental rights paperwork submitted. Power of attorney, in case anything ever happened to Ethan or me, handed to my best friend Tasha, not a blood relative. I knew this would come, but I hadn't expected it this soon. After we hung up, I pulled up Brooke's video. There she was, again on the couch, again tearful, again polished just enough to pass for vulnerable. "I just found out my sister had a baby," she said, staring into the camera. "She never told me. Never told any of us. She's punishing our family. She's punishing me. And then, the kicker, I'm calling on anyone who believes in family restoration to help me. Help me raise money for a legal fund to make this right." She had a new GoFundMe. Reclaiming family, a child's right to love. I stared at the screen for a long time. She wasn't doing this for love, or justice, or healing. She was doing this because she needed to win. That's what it had always been about. Not connection. Control. Ethan walked in and saw the look on my face. "What happened?" I turned the phone to him. He watched for 20 seconds, then put it down. "Tell me what you need." I took a breath. I need to disappear from them. We made the decision that night. We packed up. Quietly. Over 2 weeks, we prepared everything. We didn't tell anyone. We gave notice to our landlord. Found a place in Asheville, a cozy mountain town with space to breathe, trees to hide in, and no family shadows. And one morning, just after dawn, we loaded the car with Miles in the back seat, coffee in hand, and left. No goodbye. No post. No trail. I changed my number. Deleted my old email. Locked down every social account. Ethan did the same. We rebuilt our lives, one silent brick at a time. And in that quiet, I found peace. Real peace. Not the kind that requires someone else's approval. Not the kind that comes with a deadline or an apology or an invoice. Just stillness. Miles turned 1 this year. We threw a small party, just us, Tasha, her husband, and their daughter. No chaos. No cameras. Just a backyard, a tiny cake, and a little boy who doesn't know what it means to carry someone else's pain. And when I watched him laugh, really laugh, with icing all over his face and Ethan spinning him in the air like he weighed nothing, I felt it. That thing I've been chasing my whole life. Freedom. Not just from Brooke. Not just from my mom. But from the part of me that ever thought I had to earn love. It was mine now. Fully. Finally.